Welcome to Storytime with Civically Minded. I'm not exactly certain I know the perfect definition for what is now being referred to as a heritage American. I think I understand it to be people that have been here since pretty close to the beginning. And if that's at least somewhat accurate, then I'm going to take this time here on Thanksgiving morning to share one story of one family that came here to the United States. And I'm going to share it because it's the story that I know best. It's my own family. And if that's what Heritage American means, then I think we qualify. I'll be reading a brief book called The Voyage, written by Sonia Danielson, and she is a member of my greater extended clan and family. And this is a brief story of how we got here. As a young man, John Wing grew up in a pretty town in England called Banbury in the 1580s and 90s. He had 9 brothers and sisters. 2 died as infants before he was born. John's parents were highly regarded in Benbury since they were in the cloth industry. This was the most important industry in England and was considered the backbone of the Puritan movement. When he was 14 years old in 1599, John entered Oxford University to study theology and prepare to join the clergy. John wanted to be a minister. Only 16 years before, King Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife Catherine of Aragon, which wasn't allowed by the Roman Catholic Church. He turned away from the Catholic Church and became the supreme head of the Church of England. During John Wing's childhood, England was ruled by Elizabeth I, who completed King Henry VIII's march toward religious reformations. While England was struggling with religion and the English monarchy was changing hands, John graduated Oxford at 19 years old. What an accomplishment. After he graduated, John met the Reverend Stephen Batchelor and his daughter, Deborah. Reverend Batchelor was a nonconformist preacher, which means he didn't agree with the Church of England. He had a huge influence on John, who embraced the ideas of the separatists, also called dissenters. The Puritans were part of this larger group. People who were known as nonconformists were treated harshly by the monarch. John became the minister of St. Nicholas Church in Strood, Kent, England. He and Deborah, Reverend Batchelor's daughter, were married while he served that church. The year was about 1609. Their first 2 children were also born and baptized in Strood. John likely received a large amount of pressure to align with the Church of England. And by 1617, John and Deborah had moved to Hamburg, Germany, where John was the minister to the Society of Merchant Adventurers. The Merchant Adventurers was a company of English merchants who engaged in trade with northwest Germany and the Netherlands. Their biggest export was finished woolen cloth and was sold at the annual fairs. Hamburg was the center of the trading activities, and the merchant adventurers were accused of being a monopoly by Parliament and then lost many of their privileges as a result. It survived as a trading association in Hamburg until the Napoleonic Wars of 1803 to 1815. John thrived as the minister of the merchant adventurers, which offered a lot of religious freedom, and was soon offered the job of pastor at the Engelsche Church, or English Church, in Flushing, Zeeland, Netherlands. This church was created for the transplanted English families that lived permanently in Flushing, as well as those who waited there prior to traveling by ship, or for the weather to change mid voyage. He considered himself a scholar and published several sermons. These included Abel's Offering, 1617, The Best Merchandise, The Saint's Advantage, The Crown Conjugal, 1620, and Jacob's Staff, also 1617. It's unknown why the family returned to England. Historians think it was for a very specific reason, since in a letter to Sir Dudley Carleton, John complained of being too weak to hold the quill properly. If illness did not send the family back to their home country of England, then it was likely due to the growing power of the Puritan movement, or maybe to help Deborah's father as he prepared to immigrate to America. John died at the age of 46, leaving Deborah a 38-year-old widow with 4 sons, aged almost 19 years to about 2 that were 9 years old. Her only daughter had just married and was not any longer under her care. It appeared John had planned to immigrate to America before his own death, but the plans had not been finalized. In 1632, Deborah and her 4 boys accompanied her father, the Reverend Batchelor, to Boston. They were on the ship the William and Francis, and it took 88 days to cross the Atlantic. Their arrival in the New World was noted by the governor of Massachusetts, who marveled that a family of such good standing and rich background had made the journey to the New World. The family settled at Plymouth Plantation and eventually made their way south to Cape Cod, where they were a founding family of Sandwich, Massachusetts, the oldest town on Cape Cod. If history proves correct, John and Deborah's son Daniel had the distinction of being the only original settler of Sandwich to have been born at its namesake city in England. This is a brief story of how my family came to the United States. Unfortunately, I think it's 10th generation great grandfather John Wing, the Reverend John Wing, did not ever make it to these shores, but his widow and his four sons did. One of his sons would die pretty soon after they made the trip here, before having any children of his own. So all of the people here in America of the Wing clan are from three of those sons that came from the Reverend John Wing and his wife Deborah, who was previously bachelor. The aforementioned sermons of John Wing that were published, I actually also have copies of right here. The sermons of John Wing, and as you can see, they weren't short. Thanks for letting me share a brief history of one heritage American family who was here for maybe not the first Thanksgiving, but pretty soon thereafter, and who has enjoyed the rich blessings of this nation ever since. If you'd like any more information about the Reverend John Wing or the Wing family in America, you can find it at www.wingfamily.org. Our family really is one of the most historic families in these United States, and we have a historical home still in Sandwich, Massachusetts, one of the oldest homes in America that is still owned by the same family. So, from the Wing family to your family, happy Thanksgiving. May God continue to bless America, and I'm certainly grateful that He has blessed our family these many years. God bless.